The Daily Mail sent the royal watching community into a tizzy this weekend with the headline King and Harry to meet regularly as royal aides plan show of unity with first public appearance together in 6 years on the cards.
I think there's a big factor of people in the country who are thinking, oh, he's coming back and he's coming back to us and he's coming back.
All right, let's unpack this Daily Mail drama in proper plain English. Because, wow, what a weekend for royal gossip. So, the Daily Mail dropped a headline that had royal watchers everywhere clutching their pearls. King and Harry to meet regularly as royal aides plan show of unity. First public appearance together in 6 years on the cards. Cue the chaos. Immediately, people were like, he's coming back. Harry's finally returning to the fold. And maybe, just maybe, without Meghan.
Maybe without Meghan, I think he'd be very well accepted in the land. I think his difficulty is going to be he would be accepted, but would, and this is the question I don't know the answer to, but would he and Meghan be
The
accepted?
perception of Harry isn't as bad as it is with Meghan because Harry gets on a plane and busts his hump and goes to the Invictus Games, and then goes to Africa and does, keeps up his mother's foundation. He does that. The royal is in him. You know what I mean? We've lost him. He's gone away from the coop. He's the prodigal son. If he comes back, he will be received, but he must come back alone.
Some of the messages I received in my inbox over this included, sounds like a divorce is underway. Ugh. And I don't buy that article. Here are some highlights of said article. High-level talks are underway to gradually bring King Charles and Prince Harry together in a public show of unity for the first time in at least 6 years. The article reads, in the strongest indication yet that the Duke of Sussex is making positive steps towards a reconciliation with senior royals, it is understood that courtiers in both households, why the hell would Prince Harry have courtiers? He's just an American that surfs and smokes a little weed every now and then. Why would he need courtiers? Are tentatively discussing how to get father and son together more frequently over the next year. The Daily Mail claims that sources say that as part of the cautious plans being drawn up to resolve the crisis, Harry agreed to keep a low profile during Donald Trump's visit as a goodwill gesture to his father. Yet, we saw Meghan picking strawberries on Instagram, promoting her lifestyle brand during the brief visit. So is that accurate? Harry might take part in more UK public events, though not officially as a working member of the royal family, the article says. He is said to be hopeful of reestablishing a relationship with William, despite the frostiness between them since Megxit. Well, as my grandma always says, wish in one hand, ... This line is important. Despite the cautious positive steps, Harry is said to be realistic that some reputational damage from the last few years is irreversible. You don't say. Offensively, a source told the Daily Mail, Harry's visit to the UK was not about trying to show up or compete with his brother. In fact, the opposite. It was to remind William that Harry can be there to take some of the load off, given some of the criticism William has received for carrying out a lower number of engagements than his father. William's not the king. Don't get me started on this argument, okay? William's not the king. If the king wants to do more, engagements, he is the king. So go ahead and, do what you want to do, but don't get me started on this argument. The article says Harry, who plans to come to the UK 4 or 5 times a year from now on, is said to be hopeful that he can at least find a working relationship with William. Whatever he can do to continue rebuilding those relationships and that trust, he will do, a source said. Well, he's not doing a very good job, considering the fact that Us Weekly and Page Six almost immediately leaked details of the alleged details of the private meeting between Harry and his father, wildly sympathetic towards the Sussexes, claiming Prince Harry recently reconnected with King Charles after sending a handwritten letter earlier this year expressing his wish to rebuild their relationship. According to Us Weekly, the meeting was described as emotional and positive. They spoke about Harry's children and King Charles's health amid his cancer battle. The reunion included hugs, tears, and a long embrace, with both father and son moved by how much they'd missed each other. Allegedly, allegedly. And don't get me started on the Guardian article, where Prince Harry refuses to take any accountability. He says his conscience is clear and he never sold trash for cash.
That last part is key because, let's be honest, the public sentiment toward Meghan in the UK is still frosty, to say the least. There's this collective fantasy that Harry might crawl back solo, the prodigal prince who went rogue in California, and now wants back into firm. And truthfully, people would welcome him. The British public loves a redemption arc. But that little phrase, if he comes back, he must come back alone, says it all. That's the emotional fault line.
One of my favorite comments read, insulting his brother in every puff piece they put out is an odd strategy. I completely agree. The Daily Mail reports if the king does play a significant role in rehabilitating Harry, it will not be the first time he's done this for someone close. He faced an uphill battle to have Camilla accepted publicly and worked closely with his mother on a message she issued during her Platinum Jubilee celebrations. Royal sources now believe the same could happen for Harry. The irony is that this specific venture, Camilla's PR campaign taking priority over their relationship and Harry's own public image, is one of Harry's most significant grievances against his father. Harry condemns the palace's never complain, never explain mantra as harmful, yet he often follows it himself by staying silent when stories make him look bad, African Parks charity. At the same time, he leaks stories about the palace to his advantage. The hypocrisy lies in criticizing the very tactic he practices: silence when convenient and selective disclosure when it's useful to him. It is my personal opinion that Prince Harry is selfish, not that bright, and cannot be trusted. I've recently had multiple guests appear on KSU and express their opinion that Prince Harry could redeem himself. I disagree with them. Family aside, if you had an employee who behaved in the same way Prince Harry and Meghan Markle behaved, there would be no turning back. There would be immediate termination. There would be threats of liable. I mean, Harry and Meghan's behavior has been so unacceptable over the last 5 years. Now, the British royal family is not legally a business, but it operates in many ways like one. Officially, the monarchy is a constitutional institution funded mainly through the sovereign grant, which comes from Crown estate profits, along with private income from estates like the Duchies of Cornwall and Lancaster. However, the royals manage their image much like a corporate brand, with carefully controlled PR, defined roles for senior members, and a focus on maintaining popularity and relevance. Their presence also generates significant revenue for the UK through tourism. Just look at me and my bank account. And global media attention. This dual identity family and institution has earned them the nickname the Firm, highlighting how the monarchy functions less like a traditional family and more like a business enterprise built on survival, influence, and image management. Setting aside the father and son element, which has already been covered here, so don't come at me for ignoring both sides. You can watch Rupert Bell or Hugo Vickers last week for that. I want to focus instead on the business side of Harry's betrayal and why I still see him as an incredible liability to the institution or firm. Breach of trust. Confidentiality is the foundation of any business relationship. Once an employee has sold private information, they've proven they cannot be trusted with sensitive info. Rehiring them would send a message to other employees that breaches of trust are forgivable, undermining internal accountability. The risk of repeated misconduct is high since they've already demonstrated a willingness to put personal gain above the company or the firm's interests. Damage to the reputation of the royal family or the company. Let's pretend it's a company still. The individual has already spoken negatively about the company in public forums, which indeed harmed the brand's reputation and popularity.
It's not really Harry the country can't stand. It's Meghan. Harry, for all his blunders, still occasionally acts like a royal. He turns up to the Invictus Games, does charity work in Africa, and carries that Diana-esque compassion people still root for. But the moment you attach Meghan's name to anything, the goodwill evaporates. So, is Harry really coming back? Maybe for a photo op, maybe for a polite handshake. But as for full reintegration, no chance.
Bringing them back could reignite public criticism, with people questioning why the company would rehire someone who actively tried to damage it. The optics of rehiring could make the company appear desperate, weak, or unconcerned about its own values. Impact on company culture. Basically, how would this affect Prince William and Catherine? Rehiring this individual would signal two current employees that unethical behavior has no lasting consequences. It could demoralize loyal staff who have upheld those standards. I mean, I say it constantly, talking about how selfless Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has been. She's given up her entire adult life for this institution. And trust within teams would erode, making collaboration and innovation harder. If someone has already had a negative experience with the Sussexes and they're forced to work with the Sussexes again, can you blame them if they've got a bad attitude or have no desire to do that? Lack of accountability. They have refused to acknowledge or take responsibility for their actions. Without accountability, there is no basis to believe their behavior will change. A second chance is only reasonable if there is genuine remorse, learning, and a plan for corrective action, which are absent here, completely absent. Rehiring Harry, I should have done air quotes there, would create an ongoing liability, not an asset. His past actions show a pattern of disloyalty, recklessness, and disregard for the institution's well-being. For the sake of protecting trust, reputation, and long-term stability, the firm should not allow him back into the fold.
He can show up to a few events, smile for the cameras, and play nice, but that doesn't mean he's back in the fold. It's PR, not reconciliation. And Meghan? She's the elephant in the room that everyone's tiptoeing around. These reconciliation stories always frame her as absent, and that's not by accident. The palace and press both know that the second her name gets tied to a royal event, the narrative turns toxic. Harry might think he can build a working relationship with his family while still living as a California celebrity, but that's fantasy. The monarchy doesn't do half measures. You're either in or you're out. Right now, Harry's out, and no matter how many hug-filled meetings get leaked to the tabloids, that's unlikely to change. This Daily Mail story feels less like a real development and more like a PR experiment, maybe a test balloon to gauge public reaction. Would people support a Harry comeback? Spoiler, only if he ditches Meghan and stops selling family secrets.